Good afternoon and welcome to the October 26, 2023 meeting of the Fitchburg Historical Commission. I'd now like to bring the meeting to order. And Fitchburg Area TV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. And I see we have no guests, and we have members Don Ostrowski, Andy Lepasti, and Ellen DiGeronimo, and myself, Keith Chanel, present. So let's begin. Let's see, our agenda.
Basically, comfortable about the two topics.
Right. Item number one is public comment period. Moment, I see no one here, so we'll move on to item number two, review and approve minutes for the September 28th, 2023 meeting.
And we approve the minutes via the September 28th, 2023 meeting.
You're a second?
I second, and I just wanted to mention, I told Andy how helpful his minutes are. Especially, yeah, they're in contrast to the minutes of the previous secretary, they were not helpful at all.
Well, we're always looking for improvement.
Yes, well, we got it.
Yeah, they're better than the ones I ever did also. Thank you, Andy, that's great. And as Andy suggested, we are showing the commission web page also on the letterhead. And as of next meeting, we'll have it on the agenda also. That's okay. So I just made that correct. I never added it to the agenda and I did it. So
yeah, put it on the latest minutes there.
yeah, so that's nice. I try to get it on other correspondence. I've updated my file.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyhow, looks great. So all in favor of approving the September minutes? Aye.
Second.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Update on monument park repairs and bench installation. And just a quick recap. We had a great meeting on Tuesday, Monday. It was Monday afternoon with DPW Director Nick Erickson, and with James Bunnell from the Parks and Recreation Department. And I think that was very productive. Some things, I don't know if we want to discuss some of the things that we should be following up on that. One of the things that James had passed out were some funding pieces from Preservation Mass and also from Mass Historical Commission's Preservation Projects Fund. So I think, did everybody get a copy of this? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these can be very helpful, and we should be aware of the deadline. And I think in collaboration with James's work on it, and perhaps jointly filing for, or helping to file for some funding for projects on that particular site.
I think that would be terrific.
Yeah. I think with that said, and noting various projects, but starting with the wrought iron fencing repair, Nick had mentioned that he's already currently working with a preservation consultant on another project with the city. And that he might be, do an inquiry with that consultant to see if this is something they would be qualified for, that they might want to look at the, having that preservation consultant, if you will, review kind of the draft documents and information we have about the missing features and the kind of sample specification that we have and some of the survey work that we've done in the past. And maybe we should, or one of us, or I could give Nick a follow-up call on that, just to, I did in an email I sent out yesterday, so then I think I mentioned that. And maybe within a few weeks, I could try to follow up next to see if we can kind of help that get going. And, you know.
No, would it make sense if we acknowledge that as part of our minutes, our interest in working with, interest in working with our department, the EPA's collaboration with the park commission and with mention him specifically.
Yeah, thank you.
So that was, I think, a positive,
I like it too.
positive piece from that. And knowing it'll probably go through this evaluation and design preservation document phase, and then it would go to a pricing or bidding phase for selecting the proper qualified replacement contractor or foundry, whatever it is that would do the work, and their skilled installation people, repair people for it. So, and the design documents, and the first part of it that goes into a pricing phase or bidding, and then the work itself. So there might be two funding pieces, one for the design consultant and the second one for the actual work. And these could fit into hopefully budgeting that DPW and Parks could have in their future budgets as substantial pieces. So, Nick did mention that Parks and Rec budgeting is been not funded very well compared to what their asks were and what were actually the allocation. So
112. 112.
And just for any of the public that are listening or tuning into this, and maybe for us to help do some hopefully convincing and providing more funding for this important part of our cities.
Well, it's the centerpiece of Main Street.
Yeah, and kind of all the parks and things, and certainly as we let this park and other parks deteriorate, and certainly we're interested in finding the park because of our design review duties, if you will, that we can help to maybe speak with our counselors and neighbors and so forth about encouraging funding.
Yes, in view of the meeting we had on Monday, when I walked in the park today, I took a closer look at the balustrades and the areas, and deterioration is well advanced. And so I think we really need to put the this highest
Right.
priority, front center, highest priority. As you say, Ellen, it's centerpiece of Main Street, and it does not speak well for the city, and it's just going to get worse. I mean, it's not gonna fix itself,
It won't fix itself.
Yeah.
and it's going to get worse very quickly.
And I think particularly, no, that should be the goal in the first place. But with the library involved in expanding and doing things, it's the perfect time
Yes,
to vote, if we can have a joint focus.
if we could piggyback.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Maybe at our next meeting, we could have Sharon and Debbie, the new director.
Yes,
Come,
they might be pretty busy with it, but we could ask.
Sure, maybe two action pieces that we could do for this regarding funding,
right,
for this, as kind of encouraged by, Nick and James, were that maybe speaking with to see budgeting, to see if there's any, we missed our opportunity in the review.
Right.
But to see if there's any opportunity in including that or portions of that as part of the funding library. And secondly, another action piece is that we could call planning and development, community development, Liz Murphy, and speak with her about including perhaps with the potential for the courthouse, the old courthouse to be becoming developed through a RFP type of process, and including again connection or initial and perhaps ongoing business partnership, if you will.
that's,
There's two kinds of, the front and rear,
Right.
big kingpin,
But it's
city
appropriate.
controlled properties at the moment.
right. I'm thinking back to when I was in Salem, we often did that. If somebody was, if somebody was interested in, doing a couple of buildings and next door was a park or something that we, a statue.
No, and I think that is, wisely saying that this is perhaps an opportunity also.
I felt like one of the benefits of the meeting was the knowledge that they'll collaborate with us, so they want to.
I got a very positive sense that
Excuse me.
rather than opposing what we're asking about or might be done, there was no, well, how could we make this possible?
Mhm.
And that's such a different attitude.
It was wonderful.
Mhm.
Yeah, they were both positive on wanting to get.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But, Keith, you mentioned, is Nick working with another consultant on some other city projects?
That's what I recall.
Yeah.
You just said that it was, I can't remember what the project was, but it was an architect that had historic preservation credentials.
Yes, it was, I think you mentioned a woman.
And it's so, so it's kind of, that's a positive thing, and that's something. Okay.
Do you mind you working on preservation architect?
For this, was it to get money from, Mass Historic for that purpose?
Well, he just mentioned that he can, have his consultant take a look at, see if it's something there.
Okay,
perhaps interested in, or perhaps even get a price back. If it's a fit, depending on what the consultation or the cost of the professional service is, type of funding round, because, municipal purchasing falls into various categories, whether it's under a certain amount or into the category, whether it goes out to the public, request for qualification and then selecting one and then selecting the right thing, etc. So I will, that's the third piece that I'll try to follow up on. So contacting the library, contacting, community development for perhaps the partnerships in the projects. And thirdly, I'll contact Nick as a follow-up on the consultant, which I think I mentioned in my email, but I'll put it the next week or something,
Kind of note,
contact him.
they were looking at the mausoleum at Forest Hill Cemetery
That's it.
and Spencer Group Preservation Company. So, and I think, so we can just kind of piggyback onto that.
Right.
Process, have them come down at Monument Park.
And also, the redevelopment authority, Main Street is their responsibility. You know, I mean, I can't really define it, but that they might have access to funds to it sometime, you know, just discuss with them what we're talking about.
Okay.
I'll mention it to Megan.
And Nick has mentioned that he had seen that kiosk on Mill Street, and he asked me who put it up. Well, it's Fitchburg Cultural Council, along with north of Maine.
Oh,
Although the kiosk is actually south of Maine, but that's all right. And there were some other groups as well. I think I have a picture of it someplace.
Where's that located again?
On Mill Street, right?
Oh, yes.
Right by the city, parking lot.
when I saw that, I thought, we're missing.
We're missing.
We're missing, and I forgot, so thank you for bringing it up. Because it's all we're all involved for the betterment of
Yes, we can be along with them. Better find the pictures.
Looking at the suggested tree location in the park.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just, I guess wondering the two she wanted to plant on the grass there. Yeah,
that was-
concern about that, but
That, there used to be 4 cannons, so those
Yes.
kind of replaced the others, you can't, not that that's a project.
No,
okay,
but there was a can in each con.
there was,
Now there are just 2, I believe,
yeah.
and I tend to agree with you that, you know, that maybe just keeping that whole inner oval as grass, but in monument kind of shine both sides instead of.
Sure.
Although, because the sun comes from the south side of Main Street into there, the shade for those back 4 benches or whatever benches there are on the Elm Street, down Elm Street, but that's Elm Street side. Those are in the sunshine most of the time, so I don't shade trees there, would
Maybe a good idea. Yeah. Yeah,
and
add a
of
little
course,
more shade.
in the barn would give a little bit more shade at certain times of the day. I would.
It's on the kiosk,
Yeah. Right there on Main Street.
pretty neat. I
Yes,
haven't seen that yet.
Yes.
I've only seen it from a distance.
I gotta get down.
good sized piece. Here's the paving down below. That's lots.
Looks like, what does it do, kind of,
Oh, that has all Main
Outline.
Street, that has all
Main
Main
Street.
Street on it.
what's that?
The upper common and down here. Mass cultural concept, cool, and they're the highlights of Main Street.
Is it Mass Cultural Council or is it Fitchburg Cultural?
Pittsburgh, yeah,
Pittsburgh, not the Alliance, the Color Council.
Yeah, different.
and then there's MC, which might be a partnership with.
Is the redevelopment authority on
It's just.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw it. I said, yeah, this is the kind of thing we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we. That's good, so this is on, Elm Tree, Boulder Drive, yeah.
Right,
Well, it's on the Main Street
Main Street,
side of Middle.
by the parking garage.
Okay,
and then Main Street
oh, Main
entrance.
Street, that's even better.
Thanks.
One. Um. Or. Talking about the fees, I think. We kind of verbally left it that we would still like to coordinate about the tree planting if it does go ahead.
Yes.
I'll have to look at our local historic district guidelines to see exactly the trees are included in it. It is kind of a major piece in it. We could certainly give some advisory piece in it, whether it's an official ruling on it or not.
Mhm.
As I think the repair of the fencing would be, maybe the park benches, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think we can designate, what historic period use of the guidelines, so
Yes,
not the one where there are no trees,
no,
but another one where there are trees, and the point being, we're looking at for the present day,
right,
making it more welcoming to people, because, I mean, there aren't 4 cannon, there are only 2, so already there's a change, there's modification. So I think we're not, obligated to go to someone else's idea of the historic period to replicate.
no, I think that we should automatically be in the review process, if not coordinating with them,
Yeah.
you know, more directly.
Yeah, I think certainly helping guide is certainly appropriate. I know that they have already reached out to the Historical Society about finding early photos and things of various plantings that have happened there, and I think I don't know if Charles mentioned this or Susan Navarre mentioned it, that they're doing some research on historic species that would be, they're not having new ginkgo tree in there or something. It's not that ginkgos are good idea.
You know, I'm thinking, and this is long before I was involved with the commission, but it might have been the bicentennial, the mayor didn't give the commission any money. Maybe I've already told you the story. I promise you I won't repeat it. So we had to find, we had to find out what we could do. So we decided we would address the parks. Hopefully we could find things that the city could do, to improve them and so forth. But, and we actually did do some things. We had a major, event. Oh, I know it was. I remembered when I was a little girl that Mayor Levanti had a ceremony, and the city must have, he said they bought them. They bought, the crate figures, because they used to be stored at the West Fitchburg Fire Station. And I remember calling him and asking him about it, because we wanted to, focus on the parks. And he was so kind of choked up when I called him and asked him about it. He said, "You really remember that?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Because you had a program, and it was a nice, it didn't cost any money, it just involved a lot of people, contributing, but it was a really nice program that we did. I have the stuff down cellar somewhere, but periodically, for different reasons, Monument Park does take center stage.
It does.
And it really is, and of course, the meaning of it is so wonderful.
Okay.
The picture you had of it, Keith, that aerial photo, about what year that was?
The one that showed the corner benches in it.
It showed a lot of trees in the park.
That was probably the 19th to 20th century. The snowy one?
Not the snowy,
No,
it's an aerial, I don't know if that was one of the 1950s aerials. Not this word. It was in the package you gave to. Gene. Yeah, that one.
This one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, there's like a lot of trees in it.
There did, yeah. Park would have been a shady place back then.
Yes, yeah. Still the monument.
You can still see the monument.
Yeah.
Yeah. And had that oval walk around the monument.
right.
Inner closer circle.
And, given,
That's kind of have the trees where they wanted to plant a couple more in the back.
given climate change, I think more trees rather than fewer trees is a priority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great picture.
Yeah. This is what we.
You can see that? Yeah.
It still shows it was pre, I think that
The old library.
I think the children's library was built, so that
The
was
children's was already in there.
Right, but
and the old one is still there.
the old one was still there, And I just wish that somehow Wallace Avenue, that you really see, at either end, you would have this wonderful view, not view, but scene.
Yeah, and the was, I believe, called the Mercantile Building, which is now the Contemporary Brick Building on
Yes.
Wallace Main Street.
Right,
Uh,
that was the
that was
Trinitarian
there.
Church.
And that replaced the Trinitarian Church, I think, in the 1870s or 80s. That was an H.M. Francis design.
Yeah, it was.
Remodeling. So it's not quite the spire thing, but they might have used the same footprint and redid it as a non-sectarian building.
I'm sure I remember the church.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I didn't discover that it was, it had a distinct mission. That, the parishioners broke away, I think, from the Calvinistic Congregational Church and started that to address the slavery.
in some research I was doing at the University of J.J. Sylvia's class that was doing a piece on it. I did find an old panoramic that showed it was a hand drawn, this wasn't a photograph because it was probably went in and out, it was an aerial shot, but hand drawn of the downtown area that shows, you know, the Baptist church. And I think it was before the library was put in. The first library in 1884, Rodney Walls.
Yes, that was the original.
So I think there was another building there, or a house or something like that. But across the street from it was a very painted steeple type of building. And I found one little sketch that's not highly documented that showed it as kind of a typical revival-ish church, you know, with a pediment similar to kind of the design of the Unitarian church at the top of the common. And it was brick, but had a white spire on top of it, but it was small and diminutive. It's already not as big as the big Baptist church that shows across the street.
But that might have been a Trinitarian church.
Well, I think that was a Trinitarian church. It was 1848 or 47. That was the breakaway time that congregation built it. They broke away because of abolition.
Yeah.
Making that a kind of a prime tenet of their congregation. And just thinking historically that the congregation disbanded essentially after the Civil War. Abolitionism was addressed over to a certain degree anyhow. And it became an open property that somebody else developed into a commercial business in the 1870s, 1880s.
And then it became Overshawn Hardware.
Yeah, and that was citing when it was, and then that was removed or greatly remodeled with new.
I'm pretty sure that it was just torn down.
Yeah.
And it was garish looking, you know, compared to the park next to it.
Yeah, the pictures I saw was, you know, the brickwork and everything was covered up, all panels.
Seems to me that it was yellow, but I don't know. I could be.
It was advertised.
It turned into a hardware store?
Yes.
It became, and of course, Overshawn Hardware, you know, became a really big business, and it was a wonderful contribution to the business community.
The YMCA building on there still has its top floors.
Oh, yes, yeah.
That's a
Double story mansard roof.
And yeah.
Turret.
When do you think that came down? Was it in the 70s? What was that, 50s? The YMCA top floors?
When I was in high school, we had dances. I think it was the top floor when I was in high school, because it was a lovely set of stairs. Remember the big,
I don't remember.
well, it was a whole portion in front of the building was the staircase from the outside.
Just walked into Main Street.
Yeah, it was very nice.
The trees. Well, trees. Good point.
Yeah.
More shade for warmer weather is certainly a reason. I've seen photographs where there were no trees, and it was one of the early 1800 photographs of kind of bare land, kind of like a common that people.
Almost became that way in recent years.
Yes.
So the police cars could
Yeah.
just look and see if
And,
there's
societal and climate changes, and
It's probably a winter or.
I think as an advisory role, in this case, I don't think we have any really firm jurisdiction, but we certainly could be involved with the design of, you know, what the landscaping actually ends up being.
should we have it as an item on our, have it in our minutes?
I think it's something, we have it in our minutes with, and we can certainly, you know, we discussed it again today. And as we continuing to work with DPW and parks, I think we certainly leave it as follow-up action, et cetera. I think that's the way we like to do.
And I think it was clearly understood
Yeah.
that we were going to be working with them.
And in addition to providing shade, you know, studies have been done showing that metropolitan areas are hotter than the surrounding areas. And that's ameliorated by having trees
Yes,
in downtown areas because of all the asphalt and buildings. The heat just reverberates,
Right.
and the trees kind of soak that up a bit.
I think I read an article about that in the not too distant past.
Yes.
Did you bring an article?
No, it was, I think it was someplace in Tennessee, was it Chattanooga, Tennessee, they had done.
Yeah, I can't remember the place, but I thought it was, in my mind, I thought, gee, we should get a copy of that, but then that left my head.
Yeah, trees are very important. Going into the future, that should not be underestimated.
Yeah, and the city just had a whole bunch of trees cut down
I
along
know.
many streets.
Well, Unitil.
Probably for the,
Yeah, the hottest summer we've had on record, and Unitil without cutting down trees. And this is insane.
Well, what's going on right now. And I was thinking of how we could be part of the discussion. With the road in Chase Street.
Mhm.
Well, there's a huge amount of land that's owned by the country club.
Yes.
And they're proposing that they have a solar farm.
yeah.
And I was at a gathering last night. They had done a meeting earlier that evening, which I never saw it being advertised for people to come and talk about it. I mean, it isn't conducive to a neighborhood, but also we need land for holistic reasons. That's probably not the right word,
I think it is the right word.
is it?
Yes.
And I was, last night I thought about calling somebody to find out, how we could have a presentation if you thought it was appropriate.
Yeah, the interconnections are very important, and it's all too easy to kind of focus on and say, well, this is us and not them. But as a historical commission, we should be interested in the interconnections. We should follow those interconnections and give, the Trinitarian Church, that's a wonderful example of how by the 1880s, let's say, I'm sure they were aware of the historic significance of that church and the role it played, but yet it wouldn't have fallen under the 50-year rolling
Demolition delay.
Yes, but it's not historic because it's not 50 years old. Well, they would have known 20 years later that it was historic.
Oh,
It's
sure.
historic significance.
Well, I keep that thought as we have that on another agenda item here too. Continuing on Monument Park, and it just kind of going down our agenda for Monday's meeting. Review and repair of central monuments and sculptures. Again, that would be something we can follow up in a month or so with DPW. It's something that maybe not as critical as it's hard to tell, but having somebody evaluate it, I think would be unique for, the initial funding for evaluation of the actual sculptures and the granite monument that's part of the sculpture should be done, so there's not a a costly, overly costly repair needed in the future because of our maintenance. At least having that professional view and make a pass of it recommended that. The realignment, repair of front and rear granite entry steps to the Monument Park. And again, follow up by DPW parks. Baby bricks at the park in Memorial Markers. Some follow up, seeing that might be a maintenance item that can be done out. Installation of park benches. Good discussions on that. In my follow-up email, I did mention if we could get alternatives that James mentioned that there might be lower cost. See how that, they compare and look and do that, and I think still probably running for it.
Yeah, and I would really love to buy one in memory of Ralph, because he and one of his friends used to come down every time there was going to be an event. And this went on for a few years at Monument Park. He and Dawn would go down and they would, pick up the litter and dog stuff and all. And I mean, they just felt that was something they wanted to do. It wasn't any fancier, but they really did it.
Yeah. And there's certainly that would be certainly a great way of funding it, and allowing people to sponsor them. And being able to publicize it, I think, would be kind of how are we going to do this, how are we going to get the word out. And maybe it's getting the first one done and then installed, and then having press coverage or something. What kind of press coverage or something that goes online or whatever, the news to the community, particularly to those who maybe through the cultural commission. Yeah. Reaching out to that and the community at large to see it.
I wasn't clear, you covered a lot of things, but had the park department agreed on a design, or was it just shared information? I couldn't remember.
It was shared information. The comments that James made that the company that makes the upper common ones are very high priced compared to other benches that perhaps they use in other parks, and there might be small privates that might have a equally appropriate look and be at a lower cost, just using slightly different materials, or cast aluminum versus cast iron.
Well, are we going to be part of that conversation?
Yes, that's again kind of a follow-up. So in my email to James and Nick yesterday or the day before, yesterday, I guess, I mentioned, for James to send us any information as we could, I think James was also, he had some markups for the brochure that he was suggesting that perhaps becomes a joint between the Board of Parks Commissioners and the Historical Commission. It could be a joint sponsorship, so we have two boards or commissions that are out there highlighting it, and that spreads the word out to different communities. So it would be good.
We won't be orphans anymore.
And we discussed the possible use of getting Monty Tech students involved with the anchoring and the foundation work.
Because the concrete bases and stuff like that.
To keep them from moving around.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
So having a regular scheduled meeting with Parks and James,
We don't have a meeting yet scheduled, so.
the November 7, is that?
Oh, yes, that,
I don't know if that was.
we are, to my knowledge, we're on the agenda to, meet with the park commissioners and we can, perhaps more, James will have more information by that time. And that is,
Was that their meeting?
that is their meeting.
It's there.
Oh,
And,
We could go sit in on that one.
as many of us that could come as possible, that would be great. And that is, I guess the last item on the agenda.
Yeah.
Next meeting
Yes.
is November 7th, which is
At 5:30.
a Tuesday. Don's not gonna be here, because he's teaching that. But that's,
That's voting day.
that's. It's a weekend,
Yeah, right.
Not next week, it's the week after that, Tuesdays, not next week, but it's a week after that. So we're on the agenda, to kind of discuss that original letter I sent out to James, and we're gonna kind of reiterate our progress. And, get coordination and support from the Board of Parks Commissioners. Hopefully. So that's park benches and, we'll be waiting for some back and forth coordination on that. Tree planting, we talked about. And any other monument park things?
The fencing. Didn't we talked about fencing?
Yes, we talked about.
And ballots and things.
Yeah, yeah. And that's probably, I think we'll bring those all up again at the Parks Commission meeting, and I think with Nick and James having some time to kind of digest things to think of, and their side approach to it might be, we could have the meeting at that time. And in the meantime, I'll try to do some follow-up with, sort of, on the, project on the grants or something. From that too. So,
Oh, and thank you, Keith. Going to the Friends of Pittsburgh Dogs. I'll follow up on that.
and if somebody, if you want me to mention it, I can, but yeah.
Well, Sam is very leading light in that organization. I think she would be at least sympathetic to the idea.
Could you know the group, and if you could contact them and see if they would, want to get onto agenda. Basically, James said, come to the commission meeting. Make your point. The commission votes on it and, get it done.
Okay.
And he said the history, no. Great. Right, moving on to item number 4, update on historic building demolition delay.
Yeah, I was in contact with John Moriali, who is the senior building inspector.
Moriarty.
Moriali, Morreale. You know the spelling. And I asked him to look at the draft of our demolition delay. He had some comments. One concerns the state building statute, MGL 780 CMR. And I looked it up. There's a 10th edition, I think, coming out. And it gives, after the petition to demolish a building, whoever is petitioning, municipal authority, has 30 days to issue a permit or deny it. Now, this is an apt point because, the demolition delay can be anywhere from 6 months to 18 months to 2 years. I think some places have 2 years. So how would the ordinance, by the way, difference between ordinance and law? An ordinance is a municipal statute.
Ruling or something.
Yeah, only local, whereas a law is statewide.
Yes, and towns versus cities or ordinances.
Towns are bylaws.
Towns or bylaws.
Bylaws.
I think,
You may be right.
that's a good point, and I think we have a draft of the proposed ordinance. And the next thing we would need to do, or certainly we should probably be parallel to, is actually operating rules and regulations of how we react as a commission, timelines, et cetera, to follow the open meeting piece on that. And indeed, it is, to my knowledge anyhow, is that once this person applies for their building permit or their demolition permit through the building department, which is required by Mass General law. That time period clicks, the building department needs to, once they receive it, they need to review to see if it meets our qualification, whether it's 15 years old or it's on the mattress list or whatever we finally have as the qualification. Then they need to, if it meets that qualification, it needs to come to us. We need to do a review of it to see if it meets the qualifications or can be signed off as directly and that they can go ahead with the demolition or if the delay actually is happening. And probably the justification through the ordinance for what it is or not. So there is, and then there needs to be a public hearing on it. But I think either it's an automatic public hearing or again, this is what we should have in kind of our follow-up, what actually happens in this process. And I think that's what when Commissioner Mark was here, he was saying that kind of also it comes in, we have clerks there that receive these things, they need to be able to shove them in the right place. So what do they look at to see how old the building is or what makes it qualify as for the demolition delay to kick into it, and then starting that process and then the legal process, the 30 days making a determination. And when does the delay period start? Does it start the day of their application, or like you're saying, or does it start the day of the determination is made by the historical commission at a hearing or whatever, signing off on yes, this is a delay, this is not a delay.
So in a way, I'm surprised that they're raising these issues because on one side, because 150 municipalities in Massachusetts have a demolition delay ordinance. So what do they do? And have they never looked at it? On the other hand, we haven't looked at it either. So I reached out to Lunenburg and London.
That was one of the,
yeah.
because you had given us a list of.
Yes, they both have demolition delay ordinances. Asking, they haven't gotten back to me yet. but it is, I wanna know, how, how do you deal with this issue of the 30 days you have to issue or deny the permit? But as Mark pointed out, we meet only once a month. So do we then have a special meeting called?
Sure. So to have that special meeting, so we receive, then we need to advertise that we are meeting. And that needs to be 48 hours to make it, probably, unless there's some internal piece that we can make. And then certainly for a hearing, I think it's more like 14 days, or it may be a longer period than the 48 hours of doing the meeting, because it, you know, the butters need to be notified
Yes.
and so forth. So it's a longer period, maybe like 10 business days or 14 days or something. Yeah, so it, then that's when we would kind of make, you know, we would hear and see the photographs and talk with the client, and, you know, they get to present and the neighbors get to present, and it becomes a public hearing process, as it should be. And then they kind of, I presume, some sort of a final ruling that's signed off and is made. And again, when does the timeline start? Is it from the application date? Is it from the hearing date? Is it from the?
So it seems to me that 150 other communities in Massachusetts have already
Yes, they
encountered this issue and have already
Yeah.
solved it, figured it out.
Yeah, so it would be, if you could, you know, share, you know, obviously, you know, what
And I'll reach out to other, but if it's pretty clear what the pattern is.
I can call Salem if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And then give it
depending
to-
on what the individual communities, what their parameters, if it's a year, you know, that kind of covers the whole community. If it's just within a certain district or something like that, it may be far less happening. In any case, there needs to be additional municipal employee staffing for
Right,
this type of a process. So along with enacting the ordinance, if Fitchburg, you know, certainly, city council recommend going ahead with the ordinance. As part of it, we should have, you know, certainly some sort of staffing to receive, you know, so the building department receives it, they make a determination, and if it does qualify, it needs to go to the next step, and it's contacting the commission. And we're kind of, you know, here. Nobody here in City Hall is the commission, the historical commission, so having at least somebody in the community development or something that's assigned to receive, and, you know, and, you know, making sure that the hearing dates are set for the next determination. That, and once we get that information of exactly how the individual, you know, how each commission and other communities react to it, then what's the timeline of setting the next meetings or the actual hearing for it. I've sat in a couple, this is a couple of years, hearing what you're within the I had a client that was within, you know, they were going to tear down something and rebuild something else. And it went before the historical commission, was in the advertised piece. The commission was there, and, you know, there was somebody recording the minutes and so forth, and then signing off of documents and looking at plans and whatever it was. So it can be a busy schedule. And, in my opinion, needs some support, and is that, you know, the ordinance is going to then requires staffing support to go with it, not a full-time type of position, but it is just an assignment of the division. I heard from Susan Navarre, the Historical Society, that he received a marker application because they half of them go to the Historical Society instead of to our mailbox. And she let me know that she sent it over to City Hall here to the Historical Commission. Well, I stopped by last week to get the Historical Commission mail, which used to be when it was down at Boulder Drive, slot that we could go in and get to. Now it's in a locked up mail room that nobody's in there. So I ended up going to community development and Kim, I believe it is, who that, don't be that, was, went down and unlocked it and we found her box. And here was 6 or 7 things in the box. Some of it from Mass Historical, there's a couple, more. So, just having some support like that is a good man, which, in the past, when, there's often calls and something, or, somebody to log in or something.
Well, it was interesting when Mark, was presenting his numbers that you asked him for. He was saying, oh, we have 700 applications. Well, they weren't for demolition. They were for modifications, which is not what the delay ordinance is about. And I think he gave a number of 7. Is that right? Kind of a rule of thumb, 7 per year. That might be demolishing an entire building.
Maybe trigger or
might trigger, and that would be important information when we go for staff support. We're not talking hundreds. We're talking maybe 7 a year.
Ideally, though, it would be nice to have follow-up support during the hearing period itself for that staff person to officially record the decision and to receive somebody at the commission is going to sign off on whatever the decision is with a signature and date. That needs to be filed with the city clerk. It also needs to be sent to the applicant, copy to the building inspector. That's something that, I'm not going to volunteer my hands for that. So, we do a lot of anyhow.
Yeah.
But in something, in an official thing like that. As we approach the formal presentation of this to the city, it's after we've done more of our homework and things, I think that's a piece of it that we should have. Besides the ordinance, here's the rules and regulations of how to run meetings or hearings, kind of like we have for our own meetings here. We created rules and regulations, and they all have to follow Mass open meeting law criteria. But so we see the procedure, and that the applicant knows what the procedure is. Mm-hmm. Okay, it qualifies, but what do I need to do? Okay, here's the form that you fill out. For demolition, is it, if you're going with this and that, or if it is, like these, they have to fill out this, that come to us. We have to react to it X number of hours or days to make it happen. And there is a mailbox for that, and there's somebody that sees it and arranges the meeting.
The other thing that John raised was our open gov system at this point does not flag historical properties. It's capable of that task if updated with the information. And I think Mark also raised that issue of how if they're getting, and Mark said he's not.
Hello, I was just looking at your agenda.
Yes.
Joanna Bellata, City Clerk, I apologize.
Hello.
On the agenda number 12, next meeting, November 7th, Board of Parks Commissioners.
Mhm.
November 7th, the municipal election, there's no meetings on November 7th.
Okay.
So just, I talked to, Mr. Bunham, he said they moved it to the 9th. So if you guys want to add that to your schedule,
Yes.
you're welcome.
Wonderful.
Thank
Thank you for coming down. No, that's,
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, I was just pulling it up and then I saw your note, and
yes,
I said, well, I better go tell him. Okay?
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank
Glad you
you. Have a
did.
good meeting.
Thank you.
well, then, can attend. I can attend,
Good.
yes.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think, well, how do we deal with this? If Mark can't, the previous guy, remember, he said that he could determine whether a building was historic or not. And Mark says, well, he can't make that determination. So I was thinking, we have an ad hoc committee of the historical commission that would be available to just say, well, should this be something that's considered for demolition delay process? Because it's not that difficult, actually, to.
No.
There may be some cases that are, kind of in the gray area, but, for example, there are tons of three-deckers, great, wonderful housing. Unless some significant historical personage lived there, unless George Washington slept there.
Right.
No, I'm sorry, it doesn't. But the Sears catalog houses,
The what?
Sears catalog houses,
Mhm.
do you know those?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I used to know which ones.
Yes, they're only,
There's not
I know of
many.
only one, but there may be a couple more.
I thought there were a couple, but I honestly don't remember.
That's historical significance.
Yes.
You don't want to demolish those. You want to
No,
preserve those
no.
as long as you can. But someone who's in the buildings office may not know of the historical significance of Sears catalog
Right.
houses.
Right.
But we would know because of our
Well-
expertise.
So would there be a referral of the requests that would come to the commission? We would decide.
I'm thinking more informal.
Yeah,
Mark or somebody calls us up and says, hey, I got a request to demolish this building. Does it have any historical significance? We could go out and take a look or do a little research.
right.
It wouldn't, I don't think it would take long, would you think? Get back within 48 hours. That would be certainly within their 30-day
Review process.
review
Yeah.
process.
Um,
And that's what we're here for. We're here
Right.
to advise.
right.
They can consult with us.
I don't know the answer to this, but could we get a time period of when those were available? When those plans were available to anybody? I can't remember. I thought there were a couple of them. I don't remember.
Right. Yeah, well, yeah, we could mark those. Those are easily marked.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think. But because we can't complete the housing census, we don't have a complete census of the structures.
there isn't complete housing. Really?
I'm just thinking that, I think there's a list of the H.M. Francis designs in town. I think I've seen that at the society,
I think you're right on that.
couple of, or several pages that know the addresses of houses and buildings.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a starting point.
I should check that for 15 Arlington Street.
But
the property database that the assessors have a date of construction. on just about every, when there's a building involved, there's a date of construction on it. And it used to be that if it was before 1900, it just said 1900. I looked at some of them and, you know, we'll look at an example. The second piece is that we could use the macros list. And this is the macros list now, and as you begin to, all of the pieces, you can actually put in a street address and Pittsburgh map and say if it shows up or not. It's,
15 Arlington?
They haven't tried it. Where would they try that? They haven't tried it.
there you go.
I was looking at that house like on Google Maps and some interesting
Let me-
design features on
I
the
think that's
house.
why I think it was Agent Francis. 'Cause it-
So I did look that up on there, but if we, what is it, 15 Arlington?
I think it's 15. The house next to it is 17, so I think it's 15.
Is that right next to the Bullock House?
Yes,
15 Arlington. So here, you get drops of 10 where that is. And this is 15 Arlington, is that it?
that's it.
So on macros, if we go, the building department clerk would have the, you know, the instructions for them are that they go to online, go to the macros list, you type in the address, Pittsburgh Mass, push the button, and it comes up with a piece here. And as we kind of scroll down on here, it was constructed in 1887. And it does have a survey form, which is Fitchburg.gridit.336. You click on there, it comes up with the same piece, and then you click on the inventory form. Download PDF, this is probably what we're usually looking at. And this is the survey work that was done.
That was when Frank Garrison was here.
Yeah. And
Jim
so
Francis.
the Queen Anne style.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes.
And St. Francis, so this is our macros list,
Oh, you,
because of the survey work that was done by.
Right.
Frank so, you know, here it has. 1887, Queen Anne style, St. Francis, the clavers, etc. And it has the typical constructive contributions where a little bit of history. It was designed. This is what when we look for historic markers, we go to this to find out the information too. So this is available to anybody, and certainly in our instructions to the building commissioner. This is certainly one source. If we we'll go back and you just type in Pittsburgh and you put in the address here. What was the other one? 17?
17 right next to it. Yeah, my concern is it's for sale. So is the new owner going to occupy it? Are they going to rent it out? Are they going to demolish it and put up a high rise? What are they doing?
Or depending on whether if it was 50-year-old or older, it would show up as saying, this, you know, if you were going to demolish it, it would need to go through the demolition delay process.
Yeah. Automatically.
If they're going to do a partial demolition or put aluminum siding on it or something like that, it's not in the Monument Park Local Historic District. They can do anything they want to do.
Yeah.
But if Pittsburgh has a demolition delay, they can still demolish the building, but they need to go through a delay period where the purpose of the demo delay ordinance is for communication to happen. That responsibility falls on our commission to suggest alternatives, seeing if there's, other buyers or whatever that would want to, could, certainly reimburse them the cost of whatever they were hoping to do, and somebody else had a desire to make to purchase the property for a higher price or something that they were intended to use. And if that doesn't go through, they tear it down. It's just a delay. Because we can't, it isn't like wanting to park local historic district, the city ordinance that says, we needs to be a ruling on it, and
Yeah, it's not demolition prevention, it's demolition delay.
it is negotiated.
So we can look at alternatives.
The thing that Mark Robert mentioned in other communities, he said, the more powerful ordinance is the local historic districts. So that if we wanted to make North Main Street a local historic district, then the commission would have the same power that we have in Bonnet Park, a local historic district, that, somebody wants to do something to the theater building, or, they would need to come before our commission. And, we could actually say they couldn't tear it down.
Sure.
With the ordinance, just like it is in many cities, like all of Salem's historic districts that Ellen was referring to are local historic districts. And they have several of them there. So all of those historic buildings and those fall under the local historic district bylaws, and which includes the ability to self-demolition.
Well,
And that's something, is another tool that we should be looking at.
well, it is, especially for Prospect Hill, because it is a historically important
Very
area.
significant.
And I know you've encountered resistance from homeowners as well. If it's a part of a historic district, then I can't do anything to it. And
That's their immediate response.
you're taking my freedom away.
So we have an obligation to educate.
Yes, exactly. But if it's just a local historic district, then we would have, or the city would have the power.
Yeah, the city, and again, it's like the demolition delay, the city needs to enact the ordinance for a local historic district also. And that's a long process. There's a historic districts study committee that's formed that could be part of this commission, or other people that would look at, let's say, North Main Street or wherever this expanded area would want to be. And it's, that's certainly a goal for a commission to be looking at things like that and expanding it. And other gateway cities, even probably smaller size cities, have maybe more than one local historic district or have expanded. It's certainly a stronger preservation tool than the demolition delay. The demolition delay is really a negotiation, a dialogue period for building, look at the value of this, here's research on it, look at this wonderful picture of what this building looked like. There's potential here. Here's another example, restored historical buildings that you can actually raise the value of your property by doing these pieces. If it's a current structure and it has to be in a National Register district, like we're hoping that North Main Street will become a National Register district, then like the theater block would qualify for tax credit funding, which is They have
They
40%
want.
rebate, construction cost. And like Orange Square, where they received, it's a $10 million project, they would essentially be getting tax credits back for $4 million. So they're saving 40% of the cost. They would be getting that back in tax credits. Their legal fees, filing fees and stuff, and that 40% gets dwindled down, but it's still, you get a 25% reduction in construction budget. As a syndicate project ends up with, in rough numbers, that becomes quite an incentive for investors. Investing. Yeah.
That's really the story.
I'm sorry, I got off track.
Well, it's not off track because it fits in, it connects with the next thing that John said, which is, he asked the question, does it have to go through city council? The quick answer is yes. For it to be an ordinance, it has to go through city council. But in the meantime, this is something, we could show, if Mark feels that he can't make a determination about whether a building is historic or not, this is a starting point for
Review.
something built in 1887, designed by Adrian Francis.
Review.
Come on,
What I'm saying is that most of the existing H.M. Francis buildings are recorded in Macris, was by our predecessors. And as an example, and it's also over 50 years old. So one way is when the city building department receives a demolition application for a building, that the building department checks on the Macris list, opens up this website, type in the address, hit the button, and here's the information. It's over 50 years old. You qualify. If instead, as an alternative to the 50-year rolling piece, we could say, and maybe this would appease some people who are saying this applies to my building that's a shack on the hill. It's built in 1920. It's not historic, but you're making me go through this nonsense of saying I can't do what I want to do with it because it's 50 years old or older. Then giving it the role 50-year piece, or we're saying is if it's been surveyed and it's on Macris list, that it was already surveyed because it appeared to have historic significance. Not all city buildings are. If we pick some other address, is there another house down the street from there?
Well, what about the former Fitchburg Historical Commission building on Grove Street?
Society.
Yeah.
On Grove Street.
That's certainly in Macris.
Because
It's also in our local historic district.
right, but does the building department automatically inform it? Because that's owned by a private person, and somebody told me work was being done there. And also with the former gas and light building.
I'll be back.
Okay.
Yes, I think it's not in our local historic district. The way YMCA is.
Oh, I see.
What we did do when we wrote up the local historic district has been there since 1978 or whatever it was. When we wrote up our
Guy's name, Rick Muscardin. Something like that, I think he owns that Green Street building. His
Yes,
name Buster.
Rick Bosco, yeah, I saw him last night, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when we, a year ago, when we enacted
the guidelines.
the guidelines for historical monument park, local historic design guidelines,
Mhm.
this is not the ordinance that formed the historic district. This is just, it makes reference to the ordinance that formed it and has the map in here. That shows the property within it. So once we passed this, I made sure we sent a copy to Mark and the building department, so we would have a copy of this map, because it's buried in the archives in St. Paul here, so. The building department, and we should re-remind them of it, that this is they should have this pinned up on their wall, that any major pieces, particularly changing the exterior of the building, and whatever's kind of defined, as it kind of read through that, needs to come through a hearing process, like the library did. But, you know, it does, you know, kind of the sideline buildings are like the Grove Street building, which is here.
Right,
And the courthouse building that the city's going to supposedly get. Anything at Christ Church, which is a private organization.
and, YMCA.
Yeah, and the YMCA, which is, you know, deteriorating conditions, you know, are privately owned down. But, you know, ideally, if they went for a demolition permit, the building department's going to get that. And they should refer it to us, because we need to give approval for the changes, including the demolition. Just make, yeah, we sent this to them a year and a half. I think Mark is savvy about this local historic districts in the past, where he probably is aware of it. But whether all of his staff do, the chief building inspector, or he has a copy of this, his wall in the city, and the clerk that processes these permits and things, demolition. And you go out and inspect a demolition, or you usually have to say where you're gonna take the junk, where it's going to go, and what kind of it goes into or something. But, you know, are they, you know, are these all highlighted on their computer, or they have a picture of this somewhere there?
Well, and, conversely, the advantages that being in that, you know, for funding.
Yes. The local historic district doesn't give them funding, but
The next,
most of these buildings are also on the National Register.
that's right,
District, which is a different boundary line than this is.
right.
But they, you know, I think they're aware of that, but hopefully our brochure will be triggering more people
Right,
on that,
right.
and your follow-up,
Right,
individual building histories and things.
right,
Educating people, particularly in important buildings and communities. But it's a good question. I don't know, like at Grove Street, you know, if they're gonna put a new roof on it. And it's not going to be slate, it's gonna be roll roofing or tin or corrugated siding, whatever, you know. Will the building catch that, or is it something we, the hell, in the street, and say, hey, we've been doing something. We as members should be certainly aware of the buildings in the district and understanding what comes under our jurisdiction and not.
Is the Faith Club on there? The Faith Club, is that on there?
Yes,
We-
it is.
and we have been advised,
We
but we haven't heard
Remember
anything
when they
lately.
did restoration work?
they did some restoration on the outside of it, and, we were kind of reviewing some of it kind of early on, and some of it was kind of gone ahead. They've since changed the contractor who was doing the work, got in a different mason. I think, elevations, perhaps better. And there hasn't been much kind of follow-up after that. That'll be, you know, either or would have had, but some of the work that was done was over.
Should we be following up with them or?
Should be.
Good.
And, I would like to get somebody else's opinion, to take a walk by it and take a look at it sometimes. So that's kind of, that was gone for a while. Other state, and, some things were maybe done. I haven't talked with the ownership on it.
I haven't, I mean, I don't think I've recently seen any action there.
No, I think they've done some pretty good stabilization of some really bad spots, including the chimneys.
Right, which they pointed out
Yeah,
really when,
yeah. And some of the work they did after when we all kind of met there, several months after some of their initial work was kind of. Yeah. Didn't look like the original work. I guess I would imagine that what it should. Might be very stable, and that's probably a good thing for, you know, keeping the rest of the building deteriorating.
How about the barn building below the Fan Club? Is that within resistance?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, it is. I'm not sure of everyone.
If you want, I can send everybody another copy of this if you're.
yes, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to send it to everyone. But
Yeah, the electronic copy, sure.
Would you like a copy?
Yeah.
So that building's been undergoing renovations, right? For the stage.
For the stage for Stratton.
Yeah, the
well,
Stratton
in
Players.
theory, it's-
Yeah.
I guess they're waiting for more funding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
sure, a lot of-
understanding.
Takes a lot of money to
They,
refurbish that place.
it's a challenge to,
You know, got a lot of work.
And, you know, my son was involved, or had been involved with, you know, live theater production companies and things like that. And, which was always kind of a struggle. The pandemic has kind of put a little nail, although there I think there's some government funding to those organizations that could qualify for it. And hopefully, Stratton and other theater groups here in the city have been able to work on that. They're getting audiences back, financial support and things. Yeah, but they all have to be working hard at it. And it's great. They're moved out here to the Stratton Players. So,
Yeah.
it was dear.
That was a great place to see it in action. Yeah.
You felt like you were part of it.
Yeah, it was so close to the stage.
That was a treat.
And as I was looking at this staircase up in there also, or the lowest way staircase, and then walking back down Grove Street, you know, walk over and back down the townhouses where the Stratton Players used to be, that whole row of buildings up, you know, east of the old historic. I mean, wonderful. As is everything.
And on the phone behind the high school. I can't,
That's right.
I can't tell you that every one of them was the home of the principal of each of the banks at one time. I've forgotten their names, but they all lived up there. It's called Bankers Grove.
Yes. Just on our historic building item, I guess I was curious about what's the current rules about demolition? I know it's been mentioned 30 days, like somebody goes upstairs, fills out a request for a demolition form,
Yes,
gives it to the building department,
yes.
they have 30 days to sign off on it, kind of thing, that's the current rule?
Yeah, basically, any building permit, there is a time period, the city has to
Act on it.
act on it as a city organization. But, you know, it's,
It sounds like a pretty basic kind of application. You know,
It is.
if the guy just signs off on it, the guy can bring his bulldozer over the next day, right?
Yeah, and there are public safety pieces that go along with demolition, and, you know, my recollection, things like that. You know, certainly, you know, people falling in the hole or the equipment and getting police details and
Water, sewer, electricity, all that kind of stuff.
Utilities are cut off, you know, inspection for hazardous materials such as asbestos that's going to be flying all over the place, or lead paint, you know, how much lead paint does that go in the landfill, or is it shipped to Maine in some distant, you know, wooded area somewhere, or special, you know, containment areas for, you know, reserve oil tanks in the property that need to be. So hazardous materials, public safety, and not leaking holes around the people control to sure. All of those things usually would happen and they're under control of the building commission.
Probably there's like additional permits people have to get as they demo.
Yeah,
Even that they gotta put up a fence around the building and.
yeah, there's usually a safety plan.
Yeah.
And, you know, building it's been inspected that there are no hazardous materials in the building.
Just be good for us to know what the existing rules are.
Yeah,
To
so this
the building.
this, you know, the way it happened without any demolition delay is you apply for your permit and get a response back, you know, you have to fill out all the stuff, you don't fill out all the information about where the debris going or construction, blah, blah, blah. You don't get your permit until you fill out all the blanks on it. And the city has, you know, probably that 30-day period to issue that permit. You've signed off on it, you've done everything. As long as you filled in the stuff, or you haven't filled it in, that keeps pushing it out, pushing that, and then you can tear it down.
Sure.
You can tear down City Hall here. There's nothing stopping the city from saying, well, we're gonna tear down City Hall or the theater block or anything outside of the monument park. Today's ordinance.
But the effort that the college is going through to get to be eligible for tax credits will ensure that all of the improved buildings wouldn't be able to get done.
The University Foundation or whoever owns the theater block is also sponsoring a National Register of Historic District that includes the theater block, and that's called the Upper Common. It's a nomination for the Upper Common National Historic District, which is in. Do we have them speak to us?
Don't think,
None?
it's interesting because I was trying to remember if we did, because I think my understanding is that it goes all the way up to North of Main, where North of Main starts to be River Street, and the extension of North of Main where the big churches up that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that would include, so the district would include the School Street School, because that was designed by H. Francis.
I know, and every time I walk past.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Another deterioration happening right before our eyes, you know.
Yeah,
One feels so helpless.
the historical photos of that building look impressive. Yeah. You go back 100 years or so.
But even, hang was in my early twenties, when I went to visit the superintendent of schools at the time for something. And I was just enthralled going into the
Go in there.
His office used to be there. I can't remember his
And
name.
that was like the school department
It
office
was.
for a while,
It
right?
was.
That
Mhm.
building?
Yeah.
Before they went to South Street.
Mhm.
This is a. One line, and then a couple of little comments that they go through school. This is not the latest version. This was the year ago.
Yeah.
The theater block is.
And also, does it include BF Brown? Or is that in that, that's,
The round is here, and that's the Academy Street.
It's like a
Which is a separate.
oh, that's a second,
Federal building.
Separate,
that is
that's
true.
Academy
Post
Street
office.
Educational District. And, the most latest version of this is that, they are taking this southeastern boundary. This is the electric company or the telephone company building here.
Uh-huh.
Here's City Hall, here's the council chamber, bank building. This telephone building, the latest version extends this side down to include the library
So it includes the Bay Club
and the
too,
big club and Lucy's Barn.
right?
And it also goes down and includes all the buildings in this block except for the old Unitarian or Trinitarian Church building that's part of the
Yeah.
National Register.
It's like a
Right.
modern office building, look, you know.
Right,
Yeah, but that's in our, it doesn't.
That's in the
new
monument.
Proposal does not include it, but it does include the department store, which was sort of Alston Studios or something like that.
yeah,
Back in the day. Very good. It's being reviewed by Asa Store now, and it's in the editing format.
oh,
It did go down there. Since then, we ruled on the library project where the children's library is going to be removed and absorbed into the new design. So but at the moment, it's, you know, the buildings are there and this is the way things are at the moment. So it is a large district, it includes, you know, all the way back to the river, essentially all the buildings, you know, along there. And particularly when, you know, kind of West Main Street and it heads down. Includes everything down to the gas station on the south side. And everything, on the north side, one building and then goes up School Street. But it does not include the Academy Street District, which I mentioned to maybe Ellen, the Academy Street District. BF Brown, actually, the playground.
Elm Street Playground,
Then includes the Academy, the old Academy building, goes up Academy Street, includes the
Bedford High,
Long Grove
Yeah.
Junior High, and includes
And
all
stairs.
this area. So that's what, they're working on now, is in construction. And the Academy Street district will come to here, and which leads to the art museum and all of this building, which is historic also. And I actually asked the consultant on County Street. That was when, I think they heard, but
right,
I said, you know, could you include this in your application? He said, we're really too far along. We'd be happy to make it as an amendment to the application.
The art museum.
Yeah, it was not just, not that the art museum is probably not for profit and couldn't it would be nice if it recognized some national register.
Well, a piece of it is part of Francis, some
Yes.
part is
Yeah.
Agent Francis.
Yeah, it couldn't be, you know, I think all the buildings would qualify as certain historic quality to them. The original Agent Francis, they used to be a stable for house or. You can actually. The old storefronts that are down, the Egyptian tapestries and stuff are down on the corner, the Academy and,
Elm Street.
yeah.
Um,
And certainly the stone studio building that kind of faces up to the north is sort of 50 years old. And it's just to the right of it on that. Agent.
Yeah.
Entry.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, we're kind of getting on track here. I think should we pull it back to demolition delay?
Well, I have nothing more to say. I haven't, responded yet to John. I also invited him to come. Those people, John Moriali, share his experience, and, you know, and,
that would be wonderful.
so we'll see. That's it. That's all I have for demolition.
I guess I would like to, you know, in the process, and one thing that Mark had mentioned is, you know, how is it clerk going to determine that if it's 50 years old or if it qualifies, if you have to notify the historical commission. Well, it could either be the date of construction, and they can just go into the assessor database, which is city's database. You put in the property address, comes up with the building date on it,
Yeah.
which is, you know, pretty accurate. You know, it's probably not 100%, but it would cover the whole city, South Fitchburg, et cetera. And our MACRIS surveys certainly don't have every building that's 50 years old, but they're the ones that were considered historically significant, and they had funds to do the survey report. There are several areas of the city that haven't been surveyed as much as they probably should be, but there's a lot of the city that is. As we get to see, we can building and find about all the buildings. You know, I always thought all of that housing just south of the university, and I traveled through the Highland Avenue.
Myrtle Avenue.
And Myrtle. All of those buildings are recorded in MAPRS, so you can pull up each building, gives them the build date, we lived there, sort of that stuff. So there is a fairly significant amount, and it would, and they're really kind of, somebody else sorted those out and said, these are historically significant older buildings. Here's some other older buildings that don't quite qualify. Or we just decided not to do those. But it covers, you know, a lot of the buildings in the country and stuff, but it was, you know, and if these people doing the survey had a high knowledge of the city and it was their expertise, and that could be as an alternate to the 50-year that, like, some residents have said, you know, it's discriminatory and people just, low cost housing in Fitchburg and, you know, making me go through this thing and do it. And who said that before? The alternative to the 50-year or 75-year or whatever it is, we used MACRIS the same. These were initially determined to be worth surveying as historic inventory pieces. And it kind of, okay, and you can kind of look at them, somebody can look at it and you could say building's 50 years old. It could be another way negotiating about the ordinance we, and it could give some assurance to certain, questioning people that if they're valuing this, well, yes, there is value in here. Here's a recording of what the value is. Here's a survey of it. And it still goes through the hearing, and we can say, well, it's, yeah, we'll look at it today and it's saying, oh, somebody has already taken the roof off and put a flat roof on it, and removed, all the porches, and it's just a box now. And we could, very easily rule saying, well, it was historically significant at one time, but it's not now. And it's reasonable for this person to say, we just need to tear this down. It's an eyesore. It is definitely can be on restoration because of what was done in the past, legally probably, but it's just, you keep picking away at the building, and at some point he gets to a point where it doesn't have the value to it. Maybe there's some original studs or something, it's hard to tell. Although, you can take a building that's constructed things and you can add it back on too. So those would be, how far is it? That would be something that the initial evaluation could be made quickly. And just, this one is so far along, we could write it off with our ad hoc committee or something.
Yeah, I'm reminded of at Paul Revere Museum, they have Paul Revere's original hatchet, second head, third handle.
It is what? Is this a joke?
No, it's at the Paul Revere Museum. They have his original hatchet, second head, third handle.
Oh my heavens, I said, wow.
Yeah, there's a book, preservation book, that is published called there's an annex also, I think, in the thing. It was the same thing, maybe it was Revere's actually. Yeah. It was maintained, but none of the original materials ever. Good work speaking with the inspector.
Yeah, and I'll respond, based on our discussion here, respond to.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything to add on the historic stone wall yet, but I will. At a future meeting, I'm working on that.
Very good. Oh, that's lots of good work on. Thank you. Brochure now, information guide. I've asked Susan Navarro to do a review of our text on it also. I'm sorry, I'm trying to repeat on this. If you, at the moment, looking at this, her ahead of time, just to verify our history of the city and various things, because they're listed on the brochure also, like they're
And it was great that you could show Nick and James at least the mock-up,
yeah.
our pre-mock-up.
And before the meeting, Ellen and I were talking, and she was always thinking ahead, and this coming May is Preservation Month, and that perhaps that we could do a formal presentation, the initial handout, and of the brochures, and maybe having some traffic signs up or street signs up or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea. That would be an appropriate time to make a flash with it. Making it a city thing.
Having an event.
Yeah, and inviting, and inviting city council, blah, 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 and having the brochure is there, maybe a quick PowerPoint thing, you know, with wonderful assets and why we should be doing it, and people could walk away with the brochure, and so that gives us, you know, 5 months to, or six,
Yeah, it's-
5 months to get our act together, get it into the final edits, and,
The other thought, in case I forget, because I do forget a lot of things now, it's, I think it would be smart of us to make sure that a copy of the brochure went to every property owner that is, you know, their building is included, you know, with a letter from us saying, you know, if you have information, further questions, call us or whatever.
Yeah, we would need staff for that. We would need staff.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, however, that brings up the subject of some type of assistance.
yeah,
And postage.
yeah. That's something, we could work out with the administration at the time as being a piece, and maybe getting, you know, that piece of, you know, address search and, you know, mailing and envelopes and stuff like that. Being part of, you know, certainly allowing them to be the master of town.
Sure.
You know, this is what we are doing as a city. Yeah, that's what it's for.
I wrote a note to myself to call Salem and get a copy of what their demolition delay looks like. And, you know, and what the guideline, you know, specifically with respect to the guidelines. And, had something else here too. I thought I underlined it. I'll find it. There were 2 things.
See if I can find some of that stuff online also. Might be able to print it out. But feel free to call and they can send you or something too, but I'll just, I just made a note to myself to try to follow up on that also.
Okay,
It will be online, if I can find it, I'll let you know.
all right.
All right, number 7, historic Hunter date. We have, 2 markers with our new sign painter, they solved the painting problem. Just a quick drive by, I saw the one on the Drury building, which is the one, the corner of Main and Blossom Street.
You got one up now?
It's on the right hand, left hand side of the facade. Kind of right eye level on the street. And, for the second meeting house, the Bonus Florist, I think theirs has been picked up also. And drive by today, I couldn't see it, but I'll check again. It was hard to see back behind the greenhouse. So,
I think I saw it.
okay,
I think so.
great. It would have been just recently picked up.
Yeah, I mean, today when you drove by, because I had to, I could look. Because you were driving, yeah, I'm almost positive I saw it.
Great. And we have. Bill, which is, you remember Taggart's Pond, that there was a dam piece, well, that's.
Yeah.
And this is near the mill area, but it's a nice little farmhouse. That one, we're just verifying the information, it is on the macros list, and, we think we have good information on it, about 1850s farmhouse. And another one for at the head of the common, I think it's 1 or 3 Prospect Street. to the right of the Unitarian Church that was, Rodney Mullen's residence, although he wasn't the initial owner of it, but he lived there at his early on.
Is that the little one that sets back a little bit?
It's right on the corner of Mechanic and Prospect Street. So it's the dual, two brick buildings.
oh, sure.
Recently.
Yes, yeah,
No.
yeah.
So it faces Mechanic Street.
It faces the top, it
It actually.
looks at Main Street. It faces the common, and then it goes just a little bit onto Mechanic Street. I wanted to buy that.
It's gonna be an old house.
Hmm?
That has to be an old house.
It is,
Yeah.
So it's these two buildings here.
yeah,
This is the church.
right, it's right there.
This is the school. So it's this main building here. It has, it's brick, granite sills and lintels. There's an entrance on Prospect Street, there's an entrance on this. And the building beside it is supposedly a stable originally, but it's apartments now. And it has the remains on the roof of what was a cupola, a foundation cupola,
Oh,
because it was a stable building at one time, so they had the hay upstairs and the horses downstairs. And maybe a tack room and all.
I know it's sure.
And it's supposedly H.M. Francis designed that, the stable building,
Uh-huh.
you know, later. So, again, that's backwards. So we're working on that marker for that building too.
So that was number 3, Prospect Street.
Good question.
But I think there's a number 5 right above it.
Yes.
Because that's the
I
number.
think
Is that the one that faces sideways when you go up there and you see the front? Somebody told me one of those buildings was owned by the Wallaces, but I've never verified it.
The other, what's the other house up there? Is it Vickery House?
The Vickery House.
It's Vickery.
Yeah. That used, that was once owned. Miss Vickery gave that to the Historical Society.
Oh, yeah. It's
And we
I
had-
owned it for a while.
Yeah, I remember I had, I found women who were working.
James Hartwell House.
That was the original owner of the building, Wallace was a subsequent owner. And this is the carriage house, that's very close to.
Was that the carriage house?
That's.
It's different in this picture.
Oh, my.
And there's 3 here.
You don't really like me, but I used to fantasize that when I got to be my age, I would live in that house and be able to rock and watch the park.
Hmm?
And I could watch the parades from my porch.
Oh,
Parades.
yes.
That'd be a
We
good
don't
place to
have
do
anymore,
that.
huh?
That'd be a good place to do that.
Yes.
It says 1846 or before, the revival, formerly stable on Mechanic Street, now apartments is by H.M. Francis.
Oh,
1880, sorry, 1880.
I think it's all
And
chocolate
Google Earth,
apartments.
you can see from Mechanic Street, you can see the base of the cupola.
Oh,
building.
I'll have to look at that.
So you can see the 2 buildings here. This is the original, and this is the stable building. You look at. This is the Mechanic Street side of the stable. You can see the the
Cupola,
base of the,
yeah.
And you can see the overhead wires.
Yeah.
well, nice little buildings. Here
I love that little white one.
you can see the base a little bit better here. It's nice, probably slate roof. This is slate going up, and there was probably some sort of ventilation. On this. I'm sure that lots of brickwork and stuff has changed, and, you know, made new windows and things all pretty much done with.
Was that, was
These are
that,
arch windows, not granite lintels. A little bit.
was that, second marker, was that part of the original building? Right there, you know,
This part?
behind the car, yeah.
I don't think so, but I don't know.
It almost looks like it might have been a store. You know, remember there used to be stores all over the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was added in, there's steps going up into small windows. It's interesting that the corners of the brick are not right angles, so the brick are not, so it has these, if you can get in closer, because the bricks aren't lined up, you get this, there's kind of a overlapping brick
I was-
joint here
yeah.
at the corner where, you know, they're not square with each other. So it's probably not quite a right angle. But interesting, you know, evening time here, this is, you know, they're nice pieces of history, and the main building is still nice. There's a bay window that's probably not on the original carriage house, I know we put it in.
and the connections.
Yeah, and I don't know
connection.
where the doors of the carriage, probably the doors of the carriage house were here at one time, and maybe there's still some doors. So,
Somebody added that connection between the two buildings.
yeah, it's it became housing and extended and whatever businesses. So, in general,
This little apartment in the back. Right, I think you can see the door. Is that a door?
Like even another addition on the back.
oh yeah, there's a way,
Yeah.
this is a connector at the back too, so it's got the structure. I entering there might be. This is part of the next house here.
Yeah, all right, number 5.
And this is supposedly, beside the Jeep here, supposedly a fragment of little stone line is 3 foot back together.
Out of the boulder.
Right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
That's
piece of trivia.
that is lore. Yeah, but the owners here had applied for a marker for this,
Oh, right there.
and they got wrapped up in the sign maker got it, and she's still waiting for reimbursement. Anyhow.
Yeah.
We did diverge, historical markers. Number 8,
I haven't done anything.
okay.
Please forgive me.
We'll try to continue that, wrap that into the finishing of the brochure and moving on to.
Right.
I
I haven't found it. I have not located anybody who would be interested to do that.
you know, we're talking about vacancies on the
Yeah.
commission. We have 2 vacancies. Don had mentioned he has found someone that might be interested, and he's spoken to them. And we still need an additional one. at this point, we have been looking for local real estate and
Yeah.
local attorney
Attorneys.
involvement. And I think, and they're wide open for any of you who are having trouble filling those, and so if we know of anybody else that uses the
Well,
category, that would be contributing.
do you know Christine Tree?
I know the name, not.
She was at that meeting that we were at, she's one.
Board of directors of the society, perhaps.
She might be,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I spoke to her one time. I'm gonna ask again, I was at the meeting, but I was with somebody and she had to leave. Because I was gonna, say hello to Christine.
One of our members just had to step out, so I stopped the recording and we will continue the meeting when the member comes back. Okay, we're back with full membership now, and member present, and we are still looking for commission membership. We have 2 vacancies, and certainly the public is encouraged to be nominated or self-nominate for being a member of the commission. Number 10, Pittsburgh Historical Commission website additions. This is something I had added to the agenda several months ago. And I've noticed on other, and I haven't done much on this, but I've noticed on other websites where cities had on their commission's website architectural styles, so people interested in the history of what their house might look like. They had a picture of a house or building in their community that is recognizable as a Victorian or Mansard or French in the Second Empire period. And that's something I hope to do more on. And we, in the past, not part of the commission, but Historical Society, and a lot of it to do with Alan's work with Cultural Commission, etc., was creating this brochure on H.M. Francis and his buildings that have some nice buildings in it. But there's the ever covered on the camera or not. And in it was an insert that I held, which was a sort of a walking tour, a downtown walking tour, common architectural terms, and it has some familiar buildings with various building types, and also some nice pictures of H.M. Francis and other highlights of downtown. So this is something that we might even just reprint or get digital copies of both of these kind of handouts on the website. It's just a resource that someone clicking on the website, like getting
But if, maybe we could really talk about doing something in May. Having our brochure ready and, maybe an evening where we'd have a presentation or something, and add that to have that, have those free printed, maybe the college or body check could do it.
Yeah, this was done through the Cultural Council original?
I can't remember, Keith, but
Sponsored in part by Massachusetts Foundation for the Humanities,
because
state affiliate of National Endowment for Humanities with additional support from Pittsburgh State College and the Pittsburgh Cultural Alliance. Those are, you got your funding.
no, actually, I think that Helen did all this.
Ellen Hogemeyer.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
One year, she was the director of the Historical Society when someone, there was a transition or something. And I'm pretty sure, because that's when I met her. And she was doing that. which I think is a lovely piece.
And it would be nice to get that. reprinted.
Okay, so I'm gonna find out from Helen where the original,
You know, it must be a digital copy of it somewhere. Or in the original printing.
right?
But it's nice information to it. You know, it, original convenience, not everybody is.
Right.
Jump right to
I
second.
think
Dean.
that might, I don't know,
It
I
is
think,
across
I
the
think
end,
we-
so.
we did have a reproduction, but I'll ask her.
That'd be great, and I talked to Helen.
She's been going back and forth to Darien, Connecticut.
Yeah, that's what she had said.
Yeah,
So that's kind of a, you know, kind of an inspiration, seeing the other cities' websites, but being able to have these things that lots of entrepreneurs are leading to the path,
Yeah,
and they're kind of dead just because they haven't been reprinted, and they're kind of before such a digital changes happen in the way we get information also. Besides picking up a brochure or paper map, and we have things on our computers and on the phones. Could be acceptable. And just letting the public know. So a little bit of that, and maybe expanding it into getting this incorporated into this main push on local knowledge. New business. I had two things that I, in a sense of emails, I'll just recently over today. The city sent us this excess property report. 12 Park Street is a building that the city now has possession of. And they're just asking various boards and commissions if there are any comments of or conditions on the city putting these on the market for this particular property at 12 Park Street for sale. And well, part is, I think, information is kind of up behind it's off of West Main Street. And its backyard actually backs up to the School Street School.
yes, it's just a little, you know, well, School Street, must have been right in there.
Yeah.
Might be good. Yeah, Andy. I miss not being able to drive.
Oh,
yeah. Okay, it's a cul-de-sac. I mean, not a cul-de-sac, but it's a dead end.
It's a dead end,
Right,
yeah,
and there are a bunch of houses back
right,
there.
right.
Okay,
May I see it?
well, it's just the map diagram.
here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keith has a better.
Oh, okay, thank you. Excuse me.
Off School Street.
No, it comes off of West Main. There's like a garage mechanic shop on the corner.
Yeah,
It's a little story.
it's just a little,
There it is. it's a little story and a half
right,
house. Story and a half is when you see the gable end on the left side of it.
oh,
The window's halfway up, so it's not a full 2 stories, but the front wall goes up about 4 feet, and then the roof takes off, so it's kind of, a slanted roof second floor too. So, and Pittsburgh has a lot of these that are late 19th century construction, and it was kind of typically, you build a full 2 stories, or, you made it so you just didn't have a triangular attic, you had an attic with the raised grade walls. So it's not a great view, but it is about 1880s and vintage or whatever. It's not in any control of ours. It isn't in the proposed Upper Common Historic District because it goes up one property, along Main Street. It should go back in private hands, people doing it. And one thing that when these come up, and the commission is on the mailing list for the form that everybody, the head of the different department and the historical commission have an opportunity to comment on the property. I think it'd be good to get it. Certainly the city doesn't need it for anything, and it's not on the tax rolls now, so they can get on the tax rolls, even if somebody purchase item on, they auction it off for whatever, fee for proposals. And it would be nice to have it out to you.
yes, I've forgotten all about where that,
I think it's important that we look at these. One time we did have a kind of a positive result. And the Water Street Fire Station, which was taken over by the city for dealing with taxes, I believe, right across from the Fifth Street Bridge. It went up for same review, and the historical commission commented in their comments back to him saying that, yes, it should be up. We advise that the city's request for proposals stating that somehow that they would favor proposals that would reuse the existing structure. Obviously, it could have been torn down, made a parking lot for any of the neighbor businesses or whatever along the property there. And at the time, the city went ahead with that. They wrote in their RFP for proposals that plan to keep the building and to take care of the exterior facade, etc. Not with great restrictions, but just not altering it and tearing it down would be looked at first, for those would be first to be considered. If nobody did it, then they could sell it off. So it was a condition they put on the deed or the initial sale. Not that they can't tear it down now, but the deed is still standing there, and it's a contracting business or something.
a restoration business, that's their name.
Yeah.
And
In the tower, they did some work on this whole tower.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, we had a tour of it, and if I remember, going through it.
Maybe it was.
Yeah.
So anyhow, it just, when these things come up, we try to look at it. In this case, I don't think somebody's gonna tear it down for backyard or somewhere, but we could make a condition. And you would advise that,
Why don't we, I don't know, take a look at it for our next meeting. Would it be too
well,
late?
we can drive by it tonight.
Oh, okay.
We need to get an answer to them by the 30th, which is next Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
That was, it's a short deadline on this, so we just kind of get there today. Yeah, essentially the week.
Back to the fire station. on the corner, kitty corner of the Fifth Street Bridge Street and Water Street. The city owned a lot there all the way back to the river. And I approached Lisa because nothing had been done with the fire station to include it with the fire station because it could be parking if somebody wanted to repurpose the fire station into apartments. And they really, it could be, it's neat inside. It still had the brass pole and there were, there were bedrooms upstairs. But yeah, I could envision it repurposed, and I'm sure other people could do better than I could. But I thought it would be an asset to have that other property for parking. But they sold it to somebody, and it just sits there with
been a blank
rubbish and
lot.
garbage.
It's been a blank lot
It-
for a while.
Yeah,
If-
it was,
if-
excuse me, it was a big brick building, and Citrino's Market was there. Yeah, which was a great market, excuse me.
No, I always interrupt. If maybe it's appropriate on kind of all buildings like this is on Macros list. It's been surveyed,
Yeah.
1887 or something like that. And we can reply that one has been surveyed. I could even attach a copy of the survey, the Macros survey to it, and saying that this is has character, in its major central city location, like its surrounding buildings, has a strong architectural character, and that you recommend that some text we could put with the sale of this building.
So,
If we comment, say there's just no comment that, we're okay with them selling it, or we could recommend that in the sale of it, that, proposals to occupy and maintain and not demolish, should be favored, or, you can write a lot of things, but proposals for either owner occupancy is probably gonna be bought by some investor, and they're gonna rent it out, which is okay also, just as long as the building stays there. Or something like that, trying to think of how to get some.
that just doesn't get torn down. It could be a way of adding that it contributes to it's a good contribution to the tax base on, I don't know the wording, but to remind them that they tear it down.
Well, they're gonna sell it so it gets back on the tax roll, so we can, which is a good thing, and probably no one's going to tear it down. They're just gonna say, well, it's got a rental in the thing, I can buy it for $120,000 or whatever the low bid is for this thing, and get a real deal on it. And, but it could be that a neighbor wants to buy it and make a parking lot for his tenants or something like that too, and they can buy it for $50,000 and rent out the parking spaces for everybody in that area there. They could probably make lots of money on it. So,
I think we should include a stipulation.
that the building remain occupied
Yes.
and not demolished. Or if they all should, say, it's basically a recommendation to
A recommendation.
the city assessors, and, this is excess property, the city doesn't, they want to get it back on the tax rolls, that it be given preference, thank you, preference to, proposals that will maintain a building in its current condition.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Occupied in its current condition. Or because of its historic, resource, its age, its heritage to the city and this little setting of buildings that are back
Right.
in Short Street. Okay, I'll try to come up with something in the next couple of days. It's due on Tuesday, so, I'll try to, come up with something.
Every night.
Yeah, I think something simple, simply worded recommendation.
I'll send a draft out and, and I think I'll print out the accurate
Yes,
survey of the building. So,
Thank you.
doesn't have to be involved.
yeah,
A lot of
keep it
us.
simple. Would we make some comment?
Right, here's our comment.
It's advisory, and, it would be nice for them to see us reacting to it. Cool.
Minutes.
Well, what was the second thing? I lost my agenda here.
So, new business items.
B.F. Brown, B.F. Brown.
Oh.
Building groundbreaking is Thursday, November 7th. This is next Thursday at 10 a.m.
I thought it was changed to the 9th.
Probably the 9th.
Is that, I think that,
No,
didn't she come in?
that was, no, this is the groundbreaking, not the meeting with parks.
Oh, okay. Oh, the groundbreaking is,
Because we're not on item 12, so we're still on 11. This is new business.
yeah,
All of the historical commission members are invited to the groundbreaking for the B.F. Brown school project. They've already been working on it a lot, but it is scheduled for next Thursday, November 2nd at 10 a.m. Somewhere probably in front of B.F. Brown.
mhm.
And an email I sent out the invitation card if you want an RSVP or you can just show up.
Yeah.
So that's next Thursday. So that is the new business. And any other new business?
Well, just to throw it out there, because it's something I've been giving a little bit of thought to, is, and I think we've mentioned possibility before, an oral history project of people who have been longtime residences of Fitchburg and have memories and been involved in the city in various ways. And it would be nice to get them on audio tape or videotape because they're primary sources.
I think that is great. I think we should certainly support that.
I almost think that it was done one time and the college was involved, the students were involved.
Yeah, there was an interview with that judge about the
Linus.
Yes, Judge Jelinas.
courthouse. And that was wonderful. That
It was.
wonderful. Yeah, oh, yeah,
It is
very,
wonderful.
very, yeah. So going forward,
I think the idea is great.
you know, if we could partner with the university on that, it'd be great for students in history classes to be part of a project like that.
Some things that are relevant to that, I think, JJ Sylvia, who worked with us on brochure, and kind of subsequently has kind of invited us back to,
Yes,
help his,
you said
he
something.
teaches introductory, communications and media course. There's also a college-wide course that, gives them basic skills for university students type of things, but there are themes to it. And, this is his second or third year doing it, where in the last couple of years, he's done these, Clio, websites and different things, getting the students looking at Fitchburg, basically their adopted community in their town. And how to get involved with your local community type of thing. And so they've done this historic research on things and put it on Clio in the past. And this year, they might be doing some similar things. They're working on some history archival stuff, with the Pittsburgh State Library and Public Library, and the Historical Society also. Being able to have these, this research that individual or groups of students do, recorded is kind of a historic document that can be easily found, not just buried on some shelf somewhere or in a digital card catalog, all these types of things. And this doctor that I joined his class in September just to talk about historic resources, and Susan wanted it too. I think one of his groups of students is doing some recordings of history from local citizens type of things.
Then we need to contact that student.
Yes, and essentially maybe going back to JJ to kind of talk with him to help coordinate it.
That's right.
I also think that Historical Society and Susan is also probably working on some of those things also. And that is certainly a repository that they should be in also. So that's why kind of Susan was active in JJ's classes and also.
Do we want to put that on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There was a meeting of the Historical Society recently, and they had a collection of photographs, previous photographs, and people were invited to come and, if they remembered certain things. And I mean, I thought it was a very interesting meeting.
What did you call it again?
Oral history.
Oral history. Thank you.
Sounded Craig is doing a little side along that line too.
I actually have a cassette tape of Ellen talking with three students when they did, I think it was for the Wallace Stones, for the Wallace History Stone.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that was fun. And then they did a report.
The report too. I have a tape recording.
Oh.
You were explaining to them the history of how the stones were saved. I'm supposed to sit on my file cabinet.
Maybe the
I
historical.
need to get it to
The Historical Society. Yes.
I told Susan this, I got this, I forgot to bring it.
Yeah.
So I think they have some
People
other.
are
things
buying
there,
this,
but-
people are acquiring the stones.
Yeah, and as a historian, I think it would be, your knowledge of how history is kept or not kept, I think it'd be good for you to talk to Susan on this directly too.
Love to.
Because I think she's right there with you on it, and the Historical Society has so many things going on, and so lightly staffed that kind of focus, we focus on that particular type of thing that we do it, and we could. I will talk with JJ
I spent years trying
just
to
to make sure I remember.
get them moved from one. Oh my God.
What do you,
But it could go to,
what do you call them, like your children or something, or?
Yeah, well, they
Stones.
was, the Senate building announced, what was he? What, I forget his title. And it was a piece of paper. that they're gonna tear it down.
Right.
And I went ballistic, so I called up and found out if I could have an appointment with the man. And, it was really funny. He took me to lunch. I was with the Mass Department of Public Works, so I had to arrange a time where I could have lunch with him at Oak Hill to talk to him about the stones, and I forget where they were living at the time. And, Pete Bavenzi was doing a lot of construction work in the city at the time that the stones were going to, the building was going to be demolished. So I called him and I said, by any chance, would you be willing to move them? Because we could have the entrance. And now I'm trying to remember where they first went. Their second home was,
Up at the West Family.
Oh, it was.
Apple Orchard.
that's right, they were moved up to the West Family Orchard. Eleanor was thrilled, she was wonderful. So we got them, Peter's people brought them all up there. And then Kenny Posco bought property and he was gonna develop condos or something. So I forget who called me and said, you have to move your stone. So I remember saying to him, well, he said, Ellen, please. But I did find a second home down at the redevelopment authority.
Yeah.
So they were down there for a long time.
Mhm.
And then finally, Tom Sozik. I was working for Dan Milet, but my desk, that was my place there, was at the redevelopment authority. So Tom Sozik was the manager of the building, the old GE building. And one morning when I got to work, he said, I have a very important thing to talk to you about. And he said, the stones, I know what he said. I've just got enough money to pay all of the parking lot. And your stones, Ellen, he said, I'm so sorry. Well, I didn't cry, but I must have showed some concern. So the next morning he was waiting for me and he said, I couldn't get your face out of my mind. He said, so we'll move them inside. So that's where they've been. And people have been, I hear about this one has one and somebody else has one. And I keep thinking I should go and bring one up and put it in my front yard. But they were really beautiful. The brownstone were all carved.
Mhm.
I thought people could use it, as ornamental work.
Well, I was looking at reconstructing.
Oh, you were?
Well, I went at the Gateway Park when they were making Gateway Park. I proposed that they use that as an entrance to the park,
Oh,
and they said no.
they weren't interested.
Well, no, it was structurally, it was problematic. I don't know what the problem was.
Oh. Did I know you then?
Yeah,
Forgive me if I forgot.
There's a picture.
It's coming down.
Oh, yeah.
Who has the entryway stone standing there?
Yeah, they left that so they can truck it off separately for a woman.
Well, and a contractor, I wish I could think of his name, the Milk Street. He wanted them for something. Not something, not to reuse them in a way, that would be preserving them.
well, you remember Keith Stevens
Oh, I'm now, it's now coming back to me.
had a project in that.
They did that project.
That's right.
Yep.
That's what they look like today, right? Sitting in the old GE building.
You guys have seen,
Yeah.
Well, Megan called me and said that she had a company that was interested in leasing the entire area and doing gardening. You know, I forget what they're gonna.
marijuana.
No,
Probably
no, it was something else, lettuce or something like that.
hydroponics,
Yeah.
What is it?
hydroponics,
Hydroponic, okay.
gardening.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sure.
And so I said, well, that's fine. And
I think that kind of fell through, right?
it did. She was really disappointed because that would have been a great use.
Anyway,
Should we adjourn the meeting?
I think it's late, we've had a good time. Next meeting is November 9th, which I believe is Thursday. Yeah. At 5:30 with the Board of Parks Commissioner. I think they meet in this room, but once I find out, I'll send their agenda to you. And our next regular meeting will be November 30th, here. Which is 30th.
I move to adjourn.
So
Thank you all.
thank you all.
Thank you.